You know, for many people who grew up in the 1980s, there was two things involved their coming of age. Actually, in Canada, it was Kids at Degrassi Street and another myriad of youth shows. But in the States, before The Breakfast Club and before Pretty in Pink, there were 16 Candles. Of course, John Hughes did the movie, and Molly Ringwald as the lead of the lovelorn young girl, very cerebral girl, who basically 16 birthday and thinks everything's going to change. And of course it does. She has a massive crush on one of the most handsome men in her high school, Michael Schaufling, who plays Jake. Now this one, Molly spends most of the movie either in fits and starts to try to get Jake to notice her. And there's one person, Farmer Ted the Geek, who was chasing Sam's character, but eventually leads him to Jake. Now, the big key scene, of course, is the scene before the wedding starts, where initially she said earlier in the movie, "I want a black Trans Am and a pink guy," and it comes true because to a weird series of events, Sam's father and the rest of the family apologize for forgetting her birthday, and of course, Sam's father says, tells her that Jake does not see how wonderful she is, that he's not worth her time. She lies on her couch thinking of Jake, not knowing he's thinking of her because he just broke up with his selfish girlfriend that broke up the house in a wild party. The next morning, Sam's mother apologized to her and everyone heads to the church for the wedding. Jake arrives at Sam's house where hungover Long Duck Dong miscommunicates that Sam is getting married. Jake finds Caroline and Ted making out in the back of his dad's banged up car. Jake and Caroline break up amicably. Jake surprises Sam at the church after the wedding and invites her to his house. Jake gives back Sam her underwear that she used to father Ted to cover his ass with his nerd friends, and a birthday cake with 16 candles. He tells her to make a wish, and he says it already came true. They kiss. Now, ironically, the song that's playing is a Thompson Twin song. You would never know it was a Thompson Twin song. You're thinking, hey, this is sort of like a kind of a nouveau Smiths or Spandau de Ballet song. But the song itself is called Wish You Were Here. Now, it's wasn't released as a single. Actually was released as a 5-cut of the soundtrack that they thought would allow the song to be a major hit. That's considered the theme song to the Jake and Sam relationship. Now, the Thompson Twins at the time were amidst of a great pop and single success. They were getting more than new wave. But the lyrics of the song, it's kind of weird. It's a very ethereal song. Wish you, if you were here, I could deceive you. This is the lyrics. Freaky for a 1984 movie. If you were here, I could deceive you. And if you were here, you would believe, but would you suspect my emotion wandering? Yeah. Do not want a part of this anymore. The rain water drips through a crack in the ceiling, and I have to spend my time on repair. But just like the rain, I'm always falling, yeah, only to rise and fall again. So we don't know if he's falling for this girl and she's not reciprocating or whatever is going on, but it's a pretty ethereal song if you look at it in a lot of ways. Now, Michael Schofling was sort of like the poor man's Matt Dillon at the time. He was also in Mermaids with Winona Ryder. Actually took her virginity in a movie. Now, John Hughes originally wrote 16 Candles in 1982 as a low-budget production which A&M Films agreed to finance for $1 million. The film went into turnaround, but Hughes attracted more interest in his screenplays after writing the successful film National Lampoon's Vacation. After Hughes was fired from his next film, Mr. Mom, he decided to resume pre-production on 16 Candles as a directorial debut as it felt a more commercial appeal to his teenage target audience than his other planned film, The Breakfast Club. Now, the movie itself, ladies and gentlemen, only cost $6.5 million, but made heavy money at the box office as one of the biggest VHS and DVD hits of the 80s and 90s. Now, the big thing about this is the soundtrack. Now, the 16 Candle soundtracks, a mini album. They had the Stray Cats, the cover of 16 Candles, Hung Up by the Phone by Annie Golden, Geek Boogie by You're a Newborn in the Geeks, Gloria by Patti Smith, and If You Were Here. See, the single itself was never released as a single. It was released by the MIDI album. Again, especially priced. However, the movie actually featured an extensive selection of over 30 songs and included the debut of a few artists. Now, artists that were featured included AC/DC, Darlene Love, Paul Young, a good version of Love of the Common People, Kachagoogoo by Kachagoogoo, Happy Birthday by Altered Images, Kazoo on Classics Temple City Kazoo Orchestra, Dragnet by Ray Anthony and Ears Orchestra, Rumors in the Air by Night Ranger, Filene by Ira Newborn, was a knockoff of Madness Our House, Peter Gunn theme by Ray Anthony's Orchestra, of course the famous dance scene, Spandau Ballet's True, Wild Sex in a Working Class by Oingo Boingo, Little Bitch by The Specials, Growing Pains by Tim Finn, When It Started to Begin by Nick Hayward, Lenny by Stevie Ray Vaughan, Whistle Down the Wind by Nick Hayward, Ring Me Up by Divine Elves, Love Team for the Godfather, Turning Japanese when Long Duck Dong appears with his new girlfriend, Rev Up by the Revelos, Farmer John by the Premiers, Theme from New York, New York, Wham! Young Guns Go For It, Rebel Yell by Billy Idol, The Long-Ring Wedding March, Young Americans by David Bowie, and Tenderness by General Public. Now, pre-2003 releases of the film featured a re-scored soundtrack due to rights issues. This wasn't until 2003 when the film was released on DVD with the original satirical soundtrack intact, while being remixed in 5.1. Now, it is probably one of the best soundtracks or non-soundtracks. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 7.1 out of 10. Now, Gene Siskel was a big fan of this, but Pauline Kael basically gave it a negative review, even though he said young writer-director John Hughes has a knack for making you like the high school age characters better each time you hear them talk. Now, at the time, Molly Ringwald wasn't a level of success. Didn't make Time magazine, Pretty in Pink. But Pretty in Pink was like, a grade 14 in high school, but this was a middle school, high school merge. And you got some good character actors here, a young Joan Cusack, a young John Cusack, and some of the actors we later see in Breakfast Club, especially, the Bo Hunt getting married to Sam's sister. So there's a lot of going on here, and he has a veteran older cast too. Billy Bird's in there too as well. So 16 Candles for me, the music stands up because there was like a lull between the new wave disco era, but it was heavy on British artists. Stray Cats were very big in Britain. Paul Young, Wham, but Thompson Twins, If You Were Here, boys oh boys, that's a romantic song. But the lyrics don't match the scene, so. But a lot of people basically believe that Sam is going to get tired of Jake very soon for obvious reasons, because he's a Richie and probably sees him as disposable. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our John Hughes Tribute podcast as part of Screenshots and the Thompson Twins is behind the tracks, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.